Vanessa? Vanessa? Vanessa?
Oh my goodness.
We can't hear you, Vanessa.
Yes, we're live. I turned it on mute so there wouldn't be feedback while I was getting the video going, but yes, we're live and we're fine.
Recording starting. We'll let everybody in. Okay. Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you. And the February 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Oregon Country Fair Board of Directors will come to order. And we'll begin the meeting with announcements. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand in chat. John Steinhardt.
Yeah, I have kind of a sad announcement, which is our sweep coordinator of many decades, Michael Rose, passed away recently. He was a wonderful person, real champion of civil liberties, did a lot of stuff outside the fair that has benefited us all. So somebody going to miss a lot.
Thank you. Any other announcements? It's unusual to have only one. Last call for announcements. Are there any announcements? Raise your hand in chat. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes of the January 6th, 2025 meeting. Is there any?
Steve,
Yeah.
can I make an announcement? I just thought of it.
Okay, sure. Well, and Grumpy raised his hand. Is that an announcement?
I didn't raise my hand because I just was too slow.
That's okay.
RFPs for the Joel Hyman Vision Fund are going out now. I believe they're available at the office, but if they're not, you can get in touch with the Vision Fund through our address that's listed on the .net site.
Thank you. Grumpy, do you have an announcement? Grumpy?
Sorry, yes, if I could find how to get to the unmute. I just wanted to say something else about Mike Rose. I've known him for 50 years. He also volunteered at the anti-nuclear power demonstrations and helped get 250 defendants found not guilty of demonstrating at the Trojan nuclear power plant many years ago. So he was a great guy, and sorry to have him leave.
Thank you. Dean Middleton, do you have an announcement?
Yes, longtime contributor to KOCF, Marshall Peter, passed away this week because of cancer. Marshall was probably our third or fourth producer to start helping the radio station with his program Jumping In and Out of the Blues. Marshall was quite a contributor to the nonprofit community. He governed ran a nonprofit called Direction Service, which they were advocates for kids with special needs, and he was respected by many people in the community and also by many people in Washington, D.C. because of the contributions that he had done to with the helping children with special needs in this country. So he'll be dearly missed. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll give another moment here to see if there are any other announcements. Last call for announcements. Raise your hand in chat. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to minutes. Is there any objection to adopting the January 6, 2025 minutes by unanimous consent? You look like you're talking to someone else, George, so I assume that's not an objection. You're muted, so I'm not hearing you.
No objection. I was just signaling someone. I'm sorry.
Last call. Is there any objection to adopting the minutes by unanimous consent from January 6, 2025? Hearing none, the minutes are adopted by unanimous consent. Agenda review. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as presented? Last call. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as presented? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted as presented, and we will move on to membership comments. Please keep in mind, membership comments are for things not on the old business agenda. Otherwise, please speak when those particular items come up. And also, let's be sure to be respectful. If there are issues that have people upset, we still want to talk about ideas and issues and not individuals. Lawrence Taylor.
Good evening. I sent out something which hopefully all the board and a couple committees received in regard to an item on next month's agenda. But I hopefully, I know it's going to take a lot of time next month, so I wanted to get a little of that taken care of today. Hopefully everyone remembers or is aware of why we're dealing with Article 11, Section 2 issues. It isn't something the Bylaws Committee opted to do, but it was a direct result of a dispute that arose in relation to the adoption of a minimum voting age. The adoption of the minimum voting age then raised the issue of the 30-day registration requirement and how that might affect people whose birthdays were close to the election. And then that in turn raised an issue about what Article 11, Section 2 actually means. And so I start with the premise that having written Article 11, Section 2, I have at least some idea what it meant. And also having participated in the discussion adopting it, that it was directed at a very specific issue, which is the idea of changing our system of selection of directors from an election to appointment or anything along those lines. What we've got is a dispute. It's a fairly narrow dispute in the sense that, as far as I know, there aren't too many people involved in questioning the interpretation, which is that voting rights means things that you get to vote on. But in line with the attorney's advice about this, because we came up against this, as she wrote, you could address this issue by defining the term voting rights in Article 11, Section 2 to make clear the difference between voting rights and voting eligibility, and or the difference between substantive changes to rights versus administrative rules that implement voting or membership processes. And that's exactly what I propose to do. It's been characterized as complicated, confusing, and deceptive. I don't think it's any of those things. It's a very straightforward reference to Article 5, Section 6A, which defines voting rights. Members shall vote to, and then it also says, and there's a list of things, and also says members shall have the right to vote on. And there's some things there. And so the proposal is simply to define the term as it was always understood by the drafter and the other members of the board who voted on it. You still have one on the board now who can attest to what the discussion was and what the understanding was. So we're not trying to change anything. We're just trying to make it clear, since there is some confusion. Now, it's been suggested, and I don't know how much time I've got, but it's
30
been
seconds.
suggested. Oh boy. Well, I'm not going to get, it's a good thing I got started here because the fact of the matter is it means what it means. and it doesn't mean what it's being interpreted as meaning. And we're just trying to fix that so that folks are no longer confused. I trust the membership will not be confused by this. And so I would urge you to give them that opportunity, and we'll get back to you on this next month.
Thank you, LT. Where's that sound coming from? Somebody's got some sound that needs to, okay, thank you. And I am speaking as a member, not as the facilitator, and I'm going to call on myself. And my feeling is that many of the issues LT was just speaking about have been mischaracterized. Alternative arguments have been mischaracterized. The legal and the debate as it stands has been mischaracterized. So I'm going to say, I realize that this voting rights issue has been wonky and confusing, and it's hard to describe the problems with the current proposal in a concise way, mostly because the proposal is unintentionally, I'm sure, complicated, confusing, and deceptive. To say that putting this proposed question before the membership constitutes letting the membership decide is wrong. Without a petition, the membership is not deciding what questions to consider, rather the board is deciding. Any question the board puts before the membership should be transparent and easy to understand, which the current proposal is not. It goes against everything I stand for in my service to the board. My goal in facilitating is to provide transparency, consistency, and objectivity to the process. The goal of making changes to the bylaws should be the same. I will attempt to provide a concise explanation, but first I want to be perfectly clear that one good choice is to do nothing. Change does not need to be made at this time. The bylaws contain specific voting rights which cannot be changed without the vote of the membership. The first sentence of the voting section says, in essence, that new members obtain voting rights 30 days after becoming a member. There has been disagreement about whether or not this 30-day clause should be a voting right. If you believe this 30-day clause is an administrative detail and should not be a voting right, the very clear and obvious remedy is to make that case to the membership and ask them to remove that sentence from the voting section. That is simple and straightforward. Then we can all agree that the voting section of the bylaws contains only voting rights and that require a vote of the membership to change. If the membership says no, then maybe the 30-day clause should remain a voting right. Instead, the current proposal is to ask the membership to vote on a bylaw change to add a definition of voting rights. This definition would make the voting section more subjective and open to interpretation. The entire purpose of the proposal is to allow the board to say that the 30-day clause of the voting section is not a voting right, and therefore the board can change it without membership approval. The proposal is deceptive. It may appear to many that voting rights would be expanded when, in fact, the goal is to ultimately remove or change part of the voting section without membership approval. That's unethical. This proposal obfuscates its actual purpose. The above board and transparent approach is to simply hold that the entire voting section of the bylaws contains only voting rights and requires membership change for approval, which is what was said in the meeting where Article 11 was adopted. If you think something should be removed from the voting section, ask the membership to remove it. That's straightforward and transparent. Thank you. That was my timer. And now, where's that sound coming from? Oh, is that the other timer? Is there any other member input? Last call for member input. Dean Middleton.
Yes, I wanted to comment on the document that was that I recently received from the committee good standing report. It's a committee good standing report for path planning. And I wanted to make it clear to the board that there are a number of statements in that document that are inaccurate. And the committee is working to rebut the document. And I think it's important that the board know that there are a lot of inaccuracies in there. Some are actually false. Some are could be interpreted one way or another, and that always happens. But there are some false statements in there. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that so that they don't base any of their decisions on that document until it gets vetted fully by all of the people that are working with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Arna, do you have it is membership comments time. So if you want to speak as a member, I'd ask you to be concise.
I just have a point of information.
Yeah.
That there's good standing letters. I've heard them say they come from a good standing committee, they come from best practices. None of that is true. They came from the board. And so I would like people to understand that's where they came from.
Okay.
And not put it to anyplace else.
Thank you. Last call for member input. I have no hands in the queue. Last call for member input. Seeing none, we're going to move on to what?
Sorry, Stephen.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Spirit.
I just had to get to a place where I could join in. I don't know how much I've missed, but this agenda item felt important to me to try to get to a place where I could speak. My question would be to the board: what harm is there in tabling this for a month and giving the committee time?
Okay, so hold on, Spirit. Are you talking about a specific agenda item?
Oh yes, I thought that's what we were putting member
No,
comments on.
we're on membership comments. So if you're addressing an old business agenda item, wait till that comes to the floor.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Lainey, do you have a membership comment?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to speak about the voting. I appreciate how you articulated the way the wording in the amendment to the voting rights. And I would like to see that go back to committee and reworked because it is confusing and it is a lessening of our voting rights. And I would appreciate the committee working to clarify it and simplify it so that members will not lose the opportunity to understand their voting rights in the way things are presented at a board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Parker.
Just a point of information. I'd just like to say that the board did remand that back to the committee last August. And the committee has had a couple of meetings on the topic, including a public work session on December 8th that was publicized as well.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there any more member input, member comments? Last call for member comments. It seems if we wait long enough, someone will raise their hand. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports, the executive director's report.
Good evening, everybody. I apologize that my camera is not working. I've tried everything. I'll have to troubleshoot it tomorrow, but I'm here, I promise. So management report. Arna, I think you need to mute. Administration budget meeting dates. As you know, the board passed the 2025 budget. Now we move into the capital improvement budgets. The budget committee will meet on Wednesday, February 5th and 12th, and they will go before the board on March 3rd. The coordinator budget sheets are actively being emailed to all of the coordinators this week. So keep your eye out for that if you're a coordinator. Under event management, Teddy Bear Picnic, we've declared a Saturday, August 16th, Culture Jam, July 31st through August 7th, and Spring Fling, May 10th at the Wow Hall. I want to encourage coordinators to get their staff t-shirt requests in. The date to submit size requests runs from January 15th through February 15th. If you need any help, please reach out to your staff liaison. Marketing, the guideline changes, all the graphics have gone, or all of it has gone to the graphic designer. I want to remind everybody that the map will be separate this year and available at multiple locations, including QM, booth registration, and the sticker booth. And we do expect to send that to the printer on March 1st. Craft applications are still open and they run from January 6th until April 1st. Teen Crew applications, we do expect those to open around February 15th. We will put out an email blast to the coordinators when that opens. We do expect teens to be able to apply for Teen Crew starting March 15th and running through April 15th. And then Teen Crew assignments will be made on June 1st. Entertainment applications are still live. They run from November 1st until February 15th. Afton Tickets, our ticket provider, the event will go live in their system by mid-month, and you can request an alert for when they actually go on sale. They will go on sale April 1st, and they will change to full price tickets at $60 a day on June 16th, and we will be offering 5,000 3-day wristbands for sale. So I think that will meet the demand that we have seen. Contracts, we did do the posting with the LTD. Nobody bid, so I'm just waiting for them to come back with the contracts. So it looks like we will have LTD. I did ask for a 5-year contract this year, and they shot that down, saying it gave LTD preferential. But I tried to lock them into a long-term commitment to us, and it didn't work. But I tried. United Site Services was selected for the 2025 portable toilet contract. All bids received were based on parameters that we provided. They were very aggressive in their pricing and were the lowest bid. They are addressing the many areas of concern we had, and we look forward to them providing much better service in 2025. We're currently working on the Whitebird Rock Medicine contract, and we've signed the Life Best Intense contract. I've reached out to T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. I'm still waiting for confirmation from T-Mobile. Verizon has confirmed, and no response from AT&T as of yet. So, getting our cell service providers all lined up, and I'll report back as I hear more. The camping permits, outdoor assembly permits, dance pavilion, and Chela Mela are almost ready for submission. ODOT and right-of-way permits will be done in March. So we're well on our way to a good start for the 2025 fair. Thank you so much.
So Amy Hand wants to ask a question about the staff report. We don't usually do, but we sometimes wander into Q&A on these reports. AJ, do you want to let Amy Hand ask a question about Kirsten's director's report?
I don't think that we should start that process. No.
Yeah.
Sorry, Amy.
Moving on, it's the treasurer's report.
Hi there. As Kirsten said last week, the board passed the operating budgets. I want to thank board members for paying attention to that and their engagement so far with the budget process. Big thanks also to the budget committee and to the staff. Both bodies put in a tremendous amount of work as usual to get this done, and really appreciate all that. Coordinators, when you get your budgets, please review them. That it should be about what we have been talking about that you would get, and if there's issues with them, which we've already heard from 2 crews that I know of, reach out to either and your budget liaison and or your staff liaison to help troubleshoot, to find out if if the ball was dropped or a miscommunication, and we'll try to get that cleared up. For those who haven't been attending every single meeting, just a reminder that the biggest changes from last year's budget to this year's budget is that the food vouchers have been revalued from $3 per unit to $4 per unit. That cost us about $100,000 because we issue about 100,000 food vouchers. So I hope everybody can eat a little bit better. I realize that there has been a lot of inflation, and I hope that people feel the meaningful change from that. We've also reinstituted the board giving line item. Just off the top of my head, I'm forgetting if it's $30,000 or $35,000. In addition, so that we've had that out of the budget for several years. We had continued the endowment giving and the Jill Hyman Vision Fund match, but now we're getting our philanthropy above what it was in 2019, and hopefully we are able to continue it at that level. There's a few other philanthropic items in that go in the budget that are in the way of memberships or, you know, other kind of outreach. So we're well above $75,000 budgeted this year to help with our community support. You know, just a reminder that that porta potty contract, I don't know what the final number came in on this year, but we've been budgeting about 3 times as much as what we did in 2019 because the contractors, you know, their costs went up, their bids went up, the level of service, I think that they, you know, I think 2019 was a shock to them as well as to us with the level of service. And, you know, there's a pretty broad acknowledgement that last year we had some troubles with getting the level of service that we expected and we needed. And I'm really glad that Kirsten and the staff have been working closely with that vendor to work out those issues. But the contract I expect is north of $400,000, you know, if not approaching $500,000. So that's our biggest contract. And it is a significant change for us to have to pay that much when we were paying under $200,000 for many, many years and closer to $100,000. So let's hope everybody has a clean porta potty this year and hand washing. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll talk again next year when we have the capital projects proposals to come back. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Kirsten, do you have any correction? Did you see the chat message?
I do. I'll have Vanessa look into that. I believe the closing of the t-shirts is 3:15, even though the email went out that said 3:1, which I don't recall. So we'll look into that.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I'm sorry. Can I just answer that? Because the staff
Sure.
t-shirts is 3:1, not 3:15.
Okay.
Thank you,
3:1.
Vanessa.
All right. Does everybody get that? Correction to the t-shirt deadline is 3:1. Okay, we're moving on to committees and work group reports. Is there any objection to accepting the submitted committee and work group reports as presented? Any objection to accepting the committee and work group reports as presented? I'm going to forego the reading of all of them. The lists. Last call. Seeing none, the committee and work group reports are accepted by unanimous consent, and we'll move on to old business. The first motion is to redesignate the board poster committee as an operational committee under the supervision of the executive director, sponsored by John Steinhardt, Sandra Bauer, Arna Shaw, and AJ Jackson. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
That's Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
Moved by John Steinhardt and seconded by Sandra Bauer. Would anyone like to explain why we're doing this before we go to member input?
Yeah, I'd be happy to give a quick explanation, which is somewhere around 7 years ago, the board decided to become a governance board and get out of operations and really hasn't followed up on committees a lot. And as a board, we've been thinking a lot about which committees actually produce policy for the board and which ones are more specific to the event. And we have 3 motions tonight that are all basically the same thing. One of the things that's really changed over time is that money's a little tighter than it used to be, and we're a lot more crowded. And one of the things that I think we lose a little bit from that is the ability for people just to say, I see something that needs doing and running out and doing it, because it's pretty hard to do that today without bumping into somebody else. So making things operational really gives us more holistic oversight of everything, because our management team can look and say, okay, if you want to do that, that's going to affect so-and-so, and hopefully end up having less problems by doing that. So hopefully it'll all work a lot better because management's a lot more responsive than the board for these sorts of things. So.
Thank you. Okay, is there any member input on moving the board poster committee to an operational committee? Any member input? Raise your hand in chat. Last call for member input. Is there any member input? Seeing none, we'll go to board discussion. Is there any board discussion on this motion? Last call for board discussion. Paxton. You're muted.
Excuse me. This is part of the recommendations that came out of the consultants report that, as was mentioned, we hired several years ago. And one of those recommendations was to differentiate between the operational committees and the policy committees. And that was actually only one part of several in the recommendations. And we never really finished the discussion on the recommendations that came out of that. There's more work, in my opinion, that really needs to be done on the consultant recommendations. And so, but this is one that was recommended there, and I'm inclined to follow through with it myself. I think that identifying some of these as operational committees rather than policy committees is a good idea. So
thank you.
Thank you.
John Alexander.
I'm the liaison to this committee, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank them for their how they operate. They're amazing. They're ahead of the game. It's really been a pleasure, and it's going to be nice because this question of what's operations and what's policies has been boggling me for a while too. And so I appreciate Paxton and John's comments on that, but I figured I'd just take the opportunity to tell you all how fantastic the committee is.
Thank you. Is there any other board discussion? Last call for board discussion. Raise your hand in chat. Last call. Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Sandra.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Paxton.
Yes.
AJ.
Yes.
John Davis.
Yes.
John Steinhardt.
Yes.
John Govsky.
Yes.
John Alexander.
Yes.
Teresa Vaughn.
Yes.
Arna Shaw.
Yes.
Kevin Levy.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item of business, a motion to redesignate the Board Peach Power Committee as an operational committee under the supervision of the Executive Director, John Steinhardt, Sandra Bauer, Arna Shaw, and AJ Jackson. Who would like to make the motion?
I'll do it again.
I'll second.
Who is seconding?
I was Arna.
Okay, moved by John Steinhardt and seconded by Arna Shaw. Would anyone like to say any words? Don't feel obligated to, since we've already talked about it a little bit. Any words about this motion before we go to member comments?
It's pretty much what John had said before
Okay.
in terms of what we're doing.
Thank you very much. So is there any member input on this motion? Peaches?
Yeah, hi. I'm the chair of the Peach Power Committee, and we did have a chance as a group to talk about this, and we are fully supportive. We're so appreciative of the board's continued commitment at a policy level towards the carbon neutrality motions and, in continuing our seventh generation stuff. And we are just excited to, be the boots on the ground, finding ways to make those sustainability policies operational. So the Peach Power Group supports this, and we thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member input? Last call for member input. Raise your hand in chat. Seeing none, we'll go to board discussion. Is there any board discussion on this motion? If so, raise your hand in chat. Last call for board discussion. Paxton.
I've been board liaison to this committee for a long time. and they've actually been really interested in becoming a operational committee because mostly it really is operational work. So I really appreciate the work being done by them, and I look forward to future work also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board discussion? Last call. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Sandra,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Paxton,
Yes.
AJ,
Yes.
John Davis,
Yes.
John Steinhardt,
Yes.
John Govsky,
Yes.
John Alexander,
Yes.
Teresa Vaughn,
Yes.
Arna Shaw,
Yes.
Kevin Levy.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item, a motion to redesignate the Board Path Planning Committee as an operational committee under the supervision of the Executive Director. John Steinhardt, Sandra Bauer, Arna Shaw, and AJ Jackson. Who's going to make the motion?
I'll do it again.
And who's going to second it?
Second.
AJ. Moved by John Steinhardt, seconded by AJ. Is there anything to say about this before we go to member comments? Okay, seeing none, Jonathan Pincus.
All right.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. I have sent a fair amount of material to the board by email, including one I sent just before the meeting. I strongly encourage the board to pause this motion until there can be a formal notified discussion at the Path Planning Committee of this proposal. Although it's been mentioned in passing, there hasn't been a full discussion of it in an open committee meeting. And I think a lot of people don't even know it's happening. I think a number of committee members have never seen some of the material that seems to be the basis of this motion. I think it's important to have that discussion. This committee advises the board and operations together and is a major access for member participation in recommendations that can have a profound impact on those people, fair participants and volunteers when they are enacted. And it's really important that it remain a format that is open and democratically operated, which being a board committee requires you to do. There's a lot of important information and complex information about this, and that is why I am requesting a pause so that the committee members who have not had a chance to really discuss this motion and do so, and we can examine the issues. It's unfortunate, but we just didn't get all this information in the agenda notified meeting. So I'm asking for the committee to have an opportunity to do that. I am not representing the committee in any way, even though I'm a member of the committee. I encourage you to look at the material that's been sent. And again, to do that, you need an opportunity to really look at it and think about it. Thanks.
Thank you, John. And I see Amy Hand.
Good evening. Thanks for the time. I'll start off real fast with just a point of clarification. I wanted to actually end with this part, but I'm going to begin with it now. I really wanted to share some appreciation for the members of our staff that have spent much of our meetings in the fall discussing that this was going to be a possibility, that this vote was coming. I felt really included. Our staff members have been coming to our meetings. We have been sharing the information that this vote was coming, the motion, the board meetings, all of that. I am in support of this motion. I believe it will hopefully clarify the framework and processes for projects and allow path planning to continue to be a valuable tool for staff to accomplish their goals. I think it's about time. I'm looking forward to having our more, I guess, clarification about the way we go about doing things, so we're not in a situation where we're doing it wrong. So I'm in support of this motion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Amy. Aaron Kenton.
Hi. I'm going to ask a question which you guys don't have to answer, but you probably know the answer. I'm hoping you do. And that is, do we have a mechanism for all the operational committees who are reporting to the executive director, for the executive director to inform the board? I just realized that I don't know the answer to that, but I assume you guys are all getting to know what all those committees are doing that are no longer under your purview, and that you're not getting that annual report and those updates. So thank you.
I see that, John, but let's just answer it during the discussion to stay on member input for the moment, because it's a pretty clear question. Spirit.
Yeah, and sorry about earlier. I'm a little out of practice, as y'all can tell. So I feel that not everything is always just clear-cut operations or governance. In this situation, I do feel that path planning is a perfect example of a committee that I would consider to be somewhat hybrid. And I also feel that path planning has been exemplary in the way that it does operate and in the way that it tends to be able to identify when something is operations, at least in the past. Now, I've been on a year sabbatical, but in the past, what I had been used to is really being able to identify when something was operations and then when there needed to be more oversight from the board. You know, there are decisions that the committee may come to recommend that are far-reaching and impact much more than just operations, but have financial implications that I believe deserve to have definite board oversight. And so with that said, I don't know that there's any harm in tabling for 1 month. I don't know that it's a bad decision to make it operations, but I do believe a larger conversation should be had where members of the committee and of the Fair family are just give a little bit more time to be aware and be able to consider unintended consequences, which I am a big fan of those considerations, especially with this committee. Let's not fix what's not broken, although I know we can fine tune. So I would recommend that the board consider tabling this and being fully informed before voting on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Spirit. Kirk Schultz.
Hi, everyone. Longtime path planner here. I think that I'm in support of this motion, although we'll go about things either way, or even a pause for another month is not an all bad thing. But one thing to share is that in our last meeting, we did have a pretty good conversation with all of our management folks there, Kirsten, Sunny, and Alexis. And one of the things that was conveyed pretty quickly is that I was concerned about is that our meetings would continue in the same manner, that they would be open meetings, they would be things that people could come to, there would be places. One of the things that path planning has done, I think, very well is that it's a place for people to bring their concerns or ideas or hopes to, and then we kind of sift through and have conversation and have a chance to do things. Take some time that the board or management may not have time to do to see if an idea is really worth pursuing and push forward, and then get out on the ground and start looking around to find a place to solve the particular issue. So in other words, Kirsten made it very clear that she wants the thing to keep running the same in a very similar way, that the bond or connection to management would be strengthened, and some guidance might come out of that that's a little different than what we're doing, but that fundamentally we don't want to change anything. We feel that we've been operating pretty well. There's always room for improvement, but that we get a lot done, and not a lot of reason to change the way it's happening. So thanks all, and however you decide, we will keep doing the work.
Thank you, Kirk. Laney. Chat is for raising hands only, please, Spirit.
Hi, I just wondered if there might be a way to add into this motion, or somebody from the board to add into it, is what Spirit was talking about, that there be included in this change to operation some avenue of communicating or reviewing on a board level, which again comes to outer membership as well. And I think that's where some of the interface with other of the committees can happen, is when it comes out into the field in front of all of us. So maybe if there's just some way to add to that change to clarify what that, I think Aaron asked the question, what is the avenue of communication if it becomes operational? What's the way to review with the board? Thanks.
Dean Middleton.
Just getting unmuted here. Yeah, I'm supportive of this motion as well, but I would be okay if we could pause to maybe get a chance to run it through the committee and let everybody know what's going on. It was great to have the staff at our last meeting. There's been a few path planning meetings recently that we've been frustrated because we have had no staff represented at the meetings. And at our last meeting, we had all 3 staff members that attend. Path planning has a history of having staff attend the meetings. So it's exciting to know that we're going to have that representation and guidance in the future if this goes through. But yeah, I'm okay if we just put the brakes on for a month or so, just to kind of let everybody be sure that this is what they want to do, because we are a hybrid meeting. We do both operational work, and we occasionally come up with ideas for governance. So I think it's important. Thanks.
Thank you. And last call for member input. Any member input, raise your hand in chat. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go to John. The question that was posed is there a mechanism for the board to know about activities and its implications for the board and organization when these committees become operational?
Yeah, I think
and I was going to say, Kirsten, do you want to let John talk since he raised that earlier, and then go to you?
Yeah, real quick, these committees are still going to have board liaisons. They're going to follow best practices, and plus they'll probably be incorporated in the executive director reports. There's still going to be plenty of communication and visibility. It's just a matter of giving these committees a closer tie into management, since most of what they do is operational. Thanks.
Thank you. Kirsten.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I just wanted to say that even operational committees will still have to adhere to the best practices manual. They will still have to submit monthly minutes and an annual report, all of which will be provided to the board in the month that they are submitted. So the board's still going to have a lot of visibility into these committees. So that's really not going to change. It just is going to be more oversight from operations instead of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Arna Shah.
So I do think that path planning belongs in operations. That's what they do. They do operational work. It's very hard for the board to supervise path planning. In the 2 years that I've been on the board, the 2 events that I've gone through, path planning has never come to the board to ask for permission to do something or to tell us that they're going to do something or anything. And so we can't really supervise them. And they've certainly done projects over these last 2 years. You know, their mission statement is to recommend things to the board and management. And they don't ever recommend anything to the board. And so we felt it was really better to put them in operations where they can work closely with operations. It really makes the most sense. What I'm really disappointed about here is that so much of the committee didn't know about this. So I'm kind of disappointed in the liaisons to this committee for really not informing them properly. And I'm disappointed in the committee chairs for not letting the whole committee, their committees know, because I think committee chairs should read board agendas and know what's coming up as new business and how it might affect their committees. I mean, I'm a committee chair, so I pay attention to that stuff. Of course, being on the board is pretty easy to pay attention to the agendas, but I mean, I think that we have responsibilities to do that stuff. And as liaisons, we really do. So I'm a little disappointed that so many people on the committee weren't really aware of what was going on. I don't think tabling this for a month is really going to do anything. You know, I mean, if I could see a real point to tabling it for a month, I would agree to table it, but I don't see what the point would be. Because nothing here is changing my mind of moving them to an operational committee. Nothing that anybody has said has changed that. I'm just sorry for the people in the committee who didn't really understand this was happening. Because I think that's just not good process. And I apologize to the committee members who didn't know about this. That's it.
Thank you. Paxton.
I think yeah, I'm unmuted. I think what the committee, pathfinding committee didn't really understand is the committee best practices concerned or putting them on probation for that. That's been the problematic. This moving it to an operational committee has been discussed in several meetings, quite a few meetings, because I brought it up quite a while ago. Part of this you can blame me, because I'm the one who made the motion to make a board committee, and at that time, operations management was kind of taking the fair into a place that many of the members didn't really want it to go to, and there was concern that there was not a lot of follow-up in the pathfinding actions done by the operational committee that was at that time. And so I moved it into a board committee to have more oversight. Now I'm ready to move it back to an operations committee because I think I also agree that it's an operational committee. It needs to work with close ties with management, and that's the way it works. We've been hampered by not having management in many of our meetings in the past, well, since kind of COVID happened. So that's been part of the problem, and I think this will end up solving it. I do hope we continue to keep the board license process as a conduit to the board. I was really happy to hear Kirsten's support of, minutes and stuff like this, and having, the regular operational, keeping it open to the public. So I think this will be quite successful. I was really impressed with the last pathfinding meeting when we did have all of management there. We all need to work closely together. So I really support this at this point in time. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, I think we're moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra.
Yeah, I think this is designating them operations makes a lot of sense. They are basically operational. There's occasionally a policy implication, and that's been brought to the board when it's been necessary. And I think that'll continue, and collaborating with more closely with staff, I think is going to make a stronger team, and I think it'll be good outcomes for the fair, and I think it'll help eliminate some of the confusion that's happened in the last couple of years. So I think that this is a really good idea, and the staff is behind this decision, and ready to work together with the people that have done a great job on path planning for all these years. So I think it's I'll be supportive of it. I think it's how it should be. So thank you.
Thank you. AJ.
Yeah, I'm also in support of this. I think one of the board's number one jobs really is oversight of of the committees, and this is one of the ways that the board, from what I'm hearing and my perspective, is the best oversight we can have for this committee is to make it operational, where we have the staff can be the boots on the ground and really informing us of whatever needs they have, as well as the committee, whatever needs they have. I think this is a way to go. I know that there is, change is hard for people. I don't like change either, but I think when I step back and look at this, I think it's in the best interest of our organization, and I think it's going to work out great for staff and this committee. I think them working together is a better benefit to the organization than what has been happening. I think in my 5 years on this board, I have not seen many things come to the board from this committee, but I understand. Having some autonomy is important to some people, and I think the board has to do its job, though, and have oversight, and this is the best way to do it for this committee, just like the previous two committees we voted for.
Thank you. And John Alexander.
Yeah, thanks everybody. The question of operations committees and policy committees has been of issue since I've been on the board. So I appreciate the fact that we've talked about this as a board and we're moving forward with it, clarifying each committee and what they are and what our responsibilities are. We've had good conversations of these things, and I appreciate that. Some of the things that have been brought up are probably things we'll be able to continue to talk about, such as how does that oversight look for operations committees and some of the details that are being raised. And so there's a little room for that. And I'm sure we'll be able to get to that too. So I'm glad that we're coming into this well thought at this point, and appreciate all the input, and I will mark some of those things down for further clarification in board discussion moving forward. Appreciate that, folks.
Thank you. John Steinhardt.
This doesn't speak exactly directly to this motion, but just because we had 3 motions tonight to move committees around doesn't mean we're done. We're still thinking about this sort of stuff. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Is there any more board discussion on this motion? Any more board discussion? Last call. Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote on the path planning becoming an operational committee. Sandra.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Paxton.
Yes.
AJ.
Yes.
John Davis.
Yes.
John Steinhardt.
Yes.
John Govsky.
Yes.
John Alexander.
Yes.
Teresa Vaughn.
Yes.
Arna Shaw.
Yes.
Kevin Levy.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item of business, the appointment of Anna Gonzalez to the Jill Hyman Vision Fund, Arna Shaw, Sandra Bauer, and AJ Jackson Who would like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
That was Arna.
Yes.
And second?
Second.
Arna, moved by Arna Shaw and seconded by Sandra Bauer. And is there anything you want to say about this before we go to member input?
I want to say that Anna has been working with the Vision Fund for a while now. She actually works as a fundraiser in her real job. The board has received, oh, and she's right here. I would like to let her speak.
Yeah, we'll do
too.
that right after you're
Okay.
done.
The board has received a letter from Anna, her resume, and a letter from Susie Przansky, and the entire committee supports Anna joining us.
Thank you very much. Anna Gonzalez, would you like to speak on your own behalf?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Anna. I've actually been a fair goer since the year I was born, which was about 45 years ago. So I am a longtime OCF person. For those of you who maybe know my booth, we are called Raccoon Cabin. We're up on Shady Lane, and we take pictures of people with their own cameras. And 100% of our booth proceeds actually go to the Jill Hyman Vision Fund. I do work professionally in development for the past 20 years, and I do a lot of other volunteer work in the community. And so I'm really, really honored to be part of this committee and to continue supporting the local organizations that do so much good.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member input on this motion? Raise your hand in chat. Any other member input on the appointment of Anna Gonzalez to the Jill Hyman Vision Fund? Last call for member input. Seeing none, we'll go to board discussion. Is there any board discussion on this appointment? Paxton.
I read your resume and I'm really impressed. I look forward to working with you and at the fair. And I hope we can recruit you for some future other projects because you look like you have skills that we could really, really use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe.
Thank you. Arna Shaw.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't read her resume, you should. It is an impressive resume. And I'm really happy that Anna wants to help out with the Vision Fund and you'll be officially on this committee, and she will be a great asset to us. So
Thank you. Any other board discussion? Last call for board discussion. Seeing no other board discussion, we'll go to a vote. Sandra Bauer.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Paxton.
Yes.
AJ.
Yes.
John Davis.
Yes.
John Steinhardt.
Yes.
John Govsky.
Yes, thank you, Anna.
John Alexander.
he may have left. He was texting me that he had to duck out.
Okay, I see him still here. John, if you're with us, come back and vote. Teresa Vaughn.
Yes.
Arna.
Yes.
And Kevin.
Yes.
Last call for John Alexander. Are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, seeing none, we will count him as abstain. And so the motion passes unanimously with John Alexander abstaining. And I will point out that all the motions passed unanimously tonight. And we're going to now, we are finished with old business and we're going to move on to new business. Next month, we will be considering 2025 capital improvement projects, sponsored by George, Sandra, and AJ. Place on the ballot the annual election, a question clarifying the voting rights of memberships, Teresa, John Govsky, and AJ Jackson. Close the following bank accounts: Northwest Community Credit Union account, Oregon Community Credit Union account, Providence Bank, Beneficial Bank, Umpqua Bank. Sandra, Arna, and AJ. And lastly, affirm the authority to communicate with external entities, Sandra, Arna, and AJ. Do you want to spend time talking about the new business tonight or have a short meeting, AJ?
Tonight's a short meeting. I will add that the board is in discussions currently to make space during work sessions that we've created throughout the year to have some discussions on new business when we can. And so I want the membership to know that we are discussing that and how to do that. But since we haven't communicated with all the membership that we would be discussing new business in this meeting tonight, I think we keep it short.
Thank you. Next board meeting is Monday, March 3rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. via Zoom and the president's piece.
Don't we have a meeting evaluation?
We can do
It wasn't on the agenda, but good point. So we'll do that. Do you want to do that before the president's piece?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Meeting evaluation. Anyone have anything for meeting evaluation? Raise your hand in chat. Last call, and I'm going to raise my hand. I just wanted to make one point earlier in the meeting during, I think it was mostly all during membership comments. A couple of people said point of information, and I didn't interrupt them because they had a right to raise their hand and speak anyway. So, but there is no such thing as point of information. And the reason there's no such thing as point of information is because people use it to inject as fact their opinion and to get an extra time to talk when they interrupt people. And there is no such thing. It was changed. It used to be called point of information. It was changed to called point of question, I think is the correct term. But the reason is you're supposed to ask a question that might be crucial to the, to the consideration of the motion. And then the chair or facilitator is supposed to decide whether or not it's germane before proceeding in order to prevent somebody from just wasting everyone's time. So there's no such thing as a point of information. You can, if you have a real point of information that's factually based, you can figure out how to word it into a question if it really is crucial to whether or not this should be considered before the motion is considered. But I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you for that point of information.
What? You have a point of information? Then you better form it as a question.
I was thanking you for your point of information.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, this is an appropriate place for such things. Is there any, I couldn't tell what hands came up after. Is there any other meeting evaluation? Is that?
I have a hand.
Yeah, okay.
Well, just that this was a great meeting. I mean, it was very agreeable. I love our agreeable meetings. But I also did want to just say that I want to encourage members, who are interested in what's going to come up next month to look at what our new business motions are. And they can always write to the board or anyone on the board or call us if they have questions about the agenda for next month, because you have it already as the new business. And as AJ says, we are looking at ways to discuss that more publicly for people. We just haven't come up with the process that we're going to use. But I encourage you to pay attention to this, to look at what the new business is so that you're not surprised at our next meeting when it's old business. And that's how you do it. And that's why we tell you now what our business will be for next month. And you can always get in touch with anyone on the board to talk to us about it. Thanks. I know that wasn't a meeting evaluation, but I wanted to say
Grumpy.
So this was a good meeting. It was short. You argue about a lot of things that unfortunately don't need to be argued about. Transparency is important. It's obvious from some comments that AJ made that there are discussions that you're having that are done privately, apparently. And as board members, it would be nice to hear what they are before they come up, all of a sudden at a meeting. But the meeting was run very well.
Thank you very much, Grumpy. And Lawrence Taylor.
Yes, I'd like to echo what Arna said about getting informed before the next meeting. And in that regard, particularly because it's been suggested as or characterized as confusing issues, I'd really encourage the board to find a way to make both Stephen Bergson's couple of posts regarding the Article 11, Section 2 definition, as well as mine, available to the membership as soon as possible so that everyone has an opportunity to digest that material.
Any other meeting evaluation? Last call?
Stephen, I think I have to do this one because I don't want it to be a part of my president's piece.
Sure.
I want to clarify that in several meetings over several years, we've talked about, we've talked about attaching intent to people. And I saw it happen many times in this meeting tonight. The board as a whole, whether we agree on things or not, works really hard, and we talk on motions that we are creating, more than just the open meeting. Sometimes we're working with each other to formulate motions. These are not technically, cannot be considered secret. This is done in open. This is brought to the whole board via email. This is how we do our work. And to act like that is something different when you've been on the board before is kind of, it hurts. So I want to make sure it's clear that what I was saying was that the board as a whole worked really hard in the discussions, whether it was at the retreat or just through emails and formulating these things and getting the information together. We're doing our job. We're doing our work.
Thank you very much. As a moderator, some of that I'll say too, that we've done very well at trying not to point at each other or at specific individuals. And there's okay to say something to some degree about positions, but we want to mostly focus on ideas. And it's harder to moderate, but as AJ was saying, assignment of motives. There's also characterization of other people's point of view as assertions rather than by citing evidence and saying this isn't correct because, but simply asserting. And so we want to be careful to try and support the things that we say when we're in a discussion where we're trying to, present competing ideas. Is there any other meeting evaluation? Last call? Seeing none, we'll go to President's piece.
All right. Thank you, Stephen, for a good meeting. Thank you for everybody being here, everybody that's here tonight. I just want to briefly just say and remind us to take care of our neighbors and our friends. We are going through quite a different world we're going to be going through quite a different world in the next however long who knows. But take care of each other. I think one of the ways we do that is when we disagree, we try to do it with kindness. We try to find a middle ground when we disagree. I think what you saw tonight with the board and how we voted is an example of us working things and trying to work together to try for the better of the organization. And finding areas where we can agree. And when we disagree, we hammer it out and try to find a way forward for the benefit of you, the members, and for the benefit of the organization. I usually leave you with an upbeat message. And so the upbeat message I have for you tonight is remember all the work you're doing right now, whether you're on the board or in a committee or just here tonight to listen. All the work that you're doing right now is for the next generations that are going to follow up and make this beautiful thing what it's going to be for the next 50 years. So remember that when you're arguing and when you're trying to figure out things or whatever, that this is for them. This is for our children and our children's children. So let's make sure that we create an environment and a place that will last and be around for them. So thank you and good night.
Thank you very much. And with that, the February 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Oregon Country Fair Board of Directors is adjourned.
You're back home, Steve, huh?
I'm back home, just back home.
Good. Glad to be back home. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Night.
Thank you, everybody.
See you
Great
soon.
meeting.
Good night. Good to see you all.